American champions will be crowned this weekend. The college soccer tournament kicked off last night, and we're going to dig into that rearrangement of MLS's Apple TV deal. That and more on Friday's edition of Morning Kickaround. Hello and welcome to the show. You found your way to Morning Kickaround, the show where we dot the map of the American soccer landscape, coming to you live each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. My name's Robert Kerr, local soccer guy, and to my side, it is friend, fellow OCFC super supporter, and MK Ultra, Luke Zagorski. Welcome in, and thanks for joining us here in the hot seat on Friday.
Thank you very much, Rob. Always good to be here with you, my friend. I'm not Jason Davis, full disclosure, but I'm almost as exuberant and attractive. So let's just get this done.
If they let him back, Jason Davis will be back in the chair next week. Shout out to our new MK Ultras, Ron Patel from out in New Mexico, making the jump from Ko-Fi over to becoming a channel member. So welcome aboard. And Mark as well, brand new member Mark. And then back in the game, Kate Phillips, I play horn, back in the mix. So thank you, MK Ultras. Thank you to the new members. And $3.99 a month gets you access to on-screen priority of your comments during these live shows, bonus content, early access to content, and access to the Morning Kickaround Discord server, which is full of great threads of discussions around the American game and all across the board, to be honest. And good morning, Tulsa Mario, up very early this morning, looking sharp in his red suit there, and preparing himself for a championship game in the morning. Or actually, I mean, it's in the afternoon, morning-ish for you. It's definitely an earlier game for the USL Championship. We'll talk about all that. But before we get going on our long balls, you got something for us, Luke?
No. Yeah, real quick. So I collect soccer jerseys. A couple of people that I know that know that about me, and I'm really into it. So I wore something special just for you today, Rob.
Oh yeah,
This
what's
jersey
that?
right
I
here
don't
is a
know that one.
Brazilian. This is a Brazilian team called Vasco da Gama. I'm butchering the pronunciation, but it's more like Vasco. This jersey is very unique because it has what is considered similar to the Emancipation Proclamation, but the Brazilian version. It's embedded in the fabric of the shirt, but it only comes out when the shirt gets wet. So if you get the shirt wet, the text of this reverent historical Brazilian document will actually come out. And we tested it; it absolutely works, and it's a fascinating concept. And that's I like
I've
wearing
never
goofy shirts
heard
around
of
every day.
a water or a wetness activated kit. So that's an interesting one. It kind of, from what I could see, it kind of, I thought you were going to say it's like a theme to the Crusades or something.
It's the logo. It's very sort of crusade-y, isn't it? Yeah, I love it. I love it. I just figured I'd wear something unique for you, for
And then you're also
your viewing pleasure.
you brought a little something different here with you. You have a prize and a quiz.
Oh, the prize and the quiz. Yeah, yeah. We're gonna do a little audience participation uh thing today. So a little bit more later on that, but we've got a prize of 50 smackaroonies of fanatics.com $50 gift card to use on whatever it is you want, as long as it's a Manchester United jersey, of course. A little bit more later on that, but we want to throw an opportunity out to our audience to have some fun with some stuff with us and get creative.
You're not going to pose the quiz question now and let them marinate on it through the show?
Should we? Should we just roll it out right now, Rob?
Yeah. You let people marinate on it.
Start as we mean to go on. Okay. All right.
Yeah, because if you guys didn't know, there is a community page on the Morning Kickaround YouTube channel, and I posed it over there, and we have one or two fun replies already, so you might as well throw it out there.
We really have replies already?
Yes, sir.
My goodness, you guys are right on top of it. Okay, so the question is, if for whatever crazy reason, if you guys were going to create a soccer-themed restaurant menu, what would be your signature item and why? Could be a beverage, could be a fancy cocktail, a foo-foo drink with an umbrella and what have you. Could be a bar food staple, a burger, or sort of some elevated wings dish or something like that. Have some fun with it. Let us know what the dish would be called. what the concept is behind it. Just go nuts in the chat. And at somewhere toward the end of the show, Rob will pick a winner, and we'll connect with you, and we'll get you over your gift card.
So to get the brain juices going, the first one that I saw, Bernardo Castellanos, his signature dish is mano de Dios, and he describes it as a 5 chicken finger plate with a side of cheating and a World Cup trophy shaped drink. So that's a fun one. All ready to get the juices rolling. And ahead on the show, we got serious and fun topics on the way. And thank you for bringing a little bit of brevity to the conversation here, because there's a lot of serious stuff out in the world, in the soccer world as well. But later on the show, we're going to be joined by Simon Evans. We're going to talk a little bit more on the business side of the MLS TV deal. And then we're going to be joined by Soccer Scout and college expert Brooks Lambier, talk about the kickoff for the College Cup. But let's get into it. Long balls here on Friday's edition of Morning Kickaround. Let's go. Going to kick off the show here with long balls. My name is Robert. This is Luke to my side. And we're in the tail end of the international break, the last one for quite some time before the World Cup qualifier playoff, intercontinental playoff in March. And I was solo on Wednesday, so I just wanted to talk it out. There was quite a window and quite a final few games. Teams qualified, teams didn't make it. And Pochettino, probably one of the more entertaining windows on the field for men's national team game. But I kind of wanted to start off this kind of wrap up of the transition from international to club game and ask, fair or foul, Pochettino's reaction in the post-game conference after the 5-1 win over Uruguay. Was there an misunderstanding or what? Fair or foul? The reaction to being asked about first-team players and him going on a rant about no first-team players and I'm not a janitor.
Don't overthink it, Rob. Since Pochettino has been on board with the USA men's national team, give me a ballpark guess as to how many players Pochettino has selected for his squads. Just a number off the top of your head.
Oh, I already know it. It's in the 70s.
It's over 70 players. So I mean, first of all, Pochettino and Bielsa, that's a great meeting of the minds right there. Different styles, but a lot of similarities, and they're buddies. They're good buddies. It was really nice to see those guys connect and duke it out on the field. But this salty Poch, this whole kickback in the interview after the post game interview, it was really weird. It was really weird, Rob. It was really strange. He bristled at the word regulars. He bristled at a question from what I thought was a fairly innocuous question, and we talked about this. I think we're on the same page about that. It was a fairly innocuous question about Pochettino treating the regulars maybe differently than the squad, the depth guys. And his reaction was very strange. I don't really understand why he opted to backlash against that question in and of itself. I mean, maybe he was defending his players a little bit, but I mean, the expectation at national team level is, you've got your guys, you've got your starters, right? You've got your core 11, 12, 15, 18 guys that you base your squad around, and then everybody else kind of comes in and out as normal. But we're looking at a situation where a men's national team coach has chosen 70 players over a fairly short space of time. And when a journalist questions the appropriateness or just the plan behind that in a positive kind of way, I don't know if it was a language barrier thing, but Pochettino just went off and said, well, I'm not the janitor. I actually do know what I'm doing here. And it was an odd hill for him to die on. It really was.
Agreed that the janitor comment, I don't quite understand, but to your point of there being 70 players in the mix, I think that it was maybe a good way to keep all the players on their toes, that, nothing's decided, and, come March when the next group of games and players are announced, the players really, he doesn't want anyone to think that it's a shoe-in for them. I think that's a shout to not only protecting and not the players that played on Wednesday, boost them up. Like, you guys aren't second team players, but also the players that weren't there that are the quote unquote regulars. They don't think that they can just, step right in because, they're willing to be called up to the national team. And to be fair, to rally the troops a bit. I mean, it was a moment of positivity in a program that hasn't had a whole lot. And he's probably just trying to use that, maybe try to galvanize us against them and that sort of thing. And maybe he just wanted to snap back at the reporters a bit because in the Berhalter era, there was the guys and the regulars. And so maybe he's just tired of that mindset from within and externally and just being like, hey, new era. There's no guys that are regularly here, no guys that are shoo-ins. Just before we move on,
real quick, I hope that's what it was. Just real quick, I hope that's what it was, because on the one hand, he comes in with an awful lot of credibility. He really does. People understand that Pochettino knows what he's doing. We don't have to question that. He's come in with an awful lot of goodwill and a lot of trust and faith. But on the other hand, there are guys who weren't on the radar for the U.S. men's national team as recently as January, February. Roldan was nowhere in January. Now he's starting. Alex Freeman, pretty much the same. Nobody really understands what Aidan Morris's role is in the system right now. So on the one hand, we got you, man. We know that you know what you're doing. But on the other hand, the transiency of the squad selections right now, we're all over the place, and I think we're allowed to just ask, like, what's the plan here? Are we good?
Yeah, it wasn't a bad question, but I think it was just for most of his tenure, Pochettino didn't have a whole lot to grab onto and really have something to dig his teeth into. And now that he got some results and it kind of seems to be coming together, I mean, it could be results based analysis. If everything goes wrong and they lose that game, does he have that similar sort of energy? Just before we move on out of the international window, tip of the cap to Curacao qualifying for the first time. I think our town is bigger population than them, and just kudos to, I mean, I don't want to go get over my skis because I don't know the intricacies of the Curacao Football Federation, but it's interesting at the very least that they put so much effort into getting all the diaspora to buy into their program. And I think the U.S. played a friendly against them, or maybe it was a Gold Cup early round game a couple years ago, and they really gave them a run for the money, and that kind of was a seed to what this qualification was. So, congratulations to them. And then also with Haiti, congratulations to Haiti for qualifying for the World Cup, despite not having played at home for 4 years. Pretty incredible stuff there. And just against all odds, in a qualifying campaign where there wasn't a USA, Mexico, and Canada, teams like Haiti and Curacao got to step up where teams like Costa Rica did not. They're out, and then Mexico has to go to the Intercontinental Playoff, which is pretty wild. I mean, they've done that in the past and have cruised through, like beating New Zealand and those type of teams. But interesting times, no doubt. And those who were fretting that qualification would be boring because everyone would get in, I think is probably wrong. If you look at the Scotland stories, and Ireland's not in there yet, but the fact that they have that moment is probably the biggest moment in Irish national team in quite a long time. Moving along, though, back into the club game domestically. A big report. It seems like there's something new every single day, but yesterday's big news was Trinity Rodman, arguably the face of the national team, or definitely the prominent number 9, one of the most important players in the NWSL, offered a contract from USL Gainsbridge Super League side, DC Power. Apparently, they've offered a significant larger sum than the Spirit or NWSL is able to counter. And when we were discussing this off the air, I was thinking, because there is a quote from Rodman's agent, I think this might be like kind of poking the bear to see if they could redraw the salary cap in NWSL to try to accommodate a larger salary. But kind of wild times. The soccer wars have spread to the player negotiations in NWSL.
Yeah, it's spread to the women's game. All of these, all of these bargaining power, free market capitalism stuff that we've seen in the men's game, dating all the way back to the 90s, Rob. Remember the whole Bosman thing? guy basically sued soccer for the right to ply his trade elsewhere and increase his increase his market value or his perceived market value. It's interesting to see it go over into the women's game. It really is. I mean, it's just all about players finding their levels and finding their appropriate earning power. Trinity Rodman, does she? Let me ask you this: does she belong in NWSL? Is she tethered, whether it be literally or figuratively, to NWSL, Rob, in response to NWSL's comments that they will fight to keep her? Does she belong there?
Well, it's all subjective. I think the landscape is changing day to day. I'll reference the quote from Rodman's agent, Mike Senkowski. The situation is now in Commissioner Jessica Berman's hands now to decide what to do about cap space. Soccer's a global game. It's nice to have global options. And so clearly he's kind of poking the bear to a degree here with that sort of commentary. And I mean, she's not beholden to it. There's been quite a few top national team players go across the other side of the Atlantic. Naomi Girma about a year ago. Alyssa Thompson went over there most recently to Chelsea. And there's rumors she's patted it down, but Emma Hayes, the coach, there's rumors that she's telling the players to go over there, even though she denies that. But that's all swirling into the mix here. And one thing that adds an interesting dynamic to all this is this just I feel like it could be a confluence of a few things. Is the Super League, is this an earnest offer? Like, do they actually have this amount of money? Because this league is in a foundational stage. They just have, I think they just started their second year. They only have 1 year under their belt. And in the article in the, I think it's New York Times, was saying that they didn't believe that any of the clubs or the league itself, the USL Super League, had the financial power to do this. So there was a little bit of question mark of how they would accomplish it. But it's an interesting dynamic that NWSL has been increasing their cap. And arguably the NWSL is the most competitive. They have the most good teams. But I think the power dynamic is like the elite teams are starting to become the Chelseas and the Barcelonas and all of them. But they're like from top to bottom NWSL. But to your question is, I don't think Trinity Rodman is beholden to them. This almost seems like a play to maybe get an offer when she knows that there's options overseas, and maybe to stay in NWSL. This USL Super League offer comes in to kind of sweeten the pot, so to speak, and get the conversation moving, whether it be changing the cap or making maybe Trinity Rodman becomes the Beckham rule, and they invent a women's DP in that league. It's interesting. It's an interesting dynamics. One league not super well funded as far as we know, but doesn't have a salary cap, and so they can make an outlandish offer for one player if they feel the need to. But interesting times there that there are options for the female players.
To your point, Rob, I don't even know if it matters as much if this is a real offer or not. I think the very fact that these women who are at the pinnacle of their game are actually thinking outside the box, and dollar figures are being thrown around. We're trying to entice women to go out and get what they either they perceive that they can earn or that they can earn. I think it's great. Go make your money, male, female, whatever. Go and make your money. Go find your value and go get what you can out of this game. Go do it.
Before we move on to the topic, I do want to highlight these. We didn't really dip into it too much, but Chris discussing the admin. Are they going to let Haiti and Iran compete in the World Cup? And then in response to that, Haiti and Iran will probably end up in the Canada or Mexico. We'll see what happens beyond that. The reporting that I did see that the Iran and Haiti are both trying to get special visas to get to the draw. The World Cup draw is on December 5th. And so that's a little bit in the air. There was an announcement that teams and players and officials will get like special visas or something to come play the World Cup. But what about the fans and the delegations for the draw and all that? That's all, I guess, still to come. We'll see.
This is the world's game, Rob. this game belongs to nobody, but it belongs to everybody at the same time. If there's a way that we could just go ahead and take politics out of soccer for just another 10 months, that would be amazing.
But that's not the case. Comments on the Trinity Rodman story. Rodman isn't leaving NWSL to play in front of 0 fans at DX Power, whose average
23.
attendance is 23, which, I mean, I don't have those statistics in front of me, but probably not as big as the Washington Spirit. And then back to I play French horn. If Trinity goes there, I imagine their attendance will skyrocket, kind of like what happened in WNBA with Caitlin Clark. Started with the Indiana Fever. And then shout out Dominic Troya in the mix here as well. Moving on, long ball number 3, as we want to do on Fridays, is the Fab for the 4 games. We're going to cut some time out of our weekend to take in. Which one will you make some time for this week? And there's a pair of championship games, the MLS quarterfinals kickoff as the return to club ball happens. And then a couple more in the mix. There's, new member. Hey-o.
No.
Welcome aboard. Brand new member, Mr. I'm terrible at reading screen names. Mr. B. I'll just say that before I
Let's go, Mr. B. Welcome aboard, Mr. B.
Welcome aboard. Just $3.99 a month. You can become an MK Ultra as well, and you get all sorts of perks, bonus content, morning kick around Discord server, all that. But back to Fab 4, there's not a multitude of games, but some big games, no doubt. So the way this order will work, I'll start off, then Luke, then Jenny, and then you guys get your pick of the weekend in. You get your Fab 4. We'll see what you get. There might be a repeat this weekend because we are at the business end of the season, at least for the short term, the beginning of the winter, the playoff time. So I will start my first pick, first game of the Fab 4. I will choose Major League Soccer going to the West, LAFC at Vancouver. And this is just purely from an entertainment standpoint. I want to see Bouanga and Son test that Vancouver defense, and then we'll see what that German monster can provide for Vancouver. This game is in Vancouver. This whole different subplot that I guess they've been trying to drum up support there in Vancouver to try to get a stadium built, but nevertheless, Muller versus Son, an exciting matchup to kind of kick things off. That's Saturday night in Vancouver. And I didn't realize that stadium, BC Place, it can if they open it all the way up, 52,000. And apparently that's they're expecting a pretty big number. I didn't know that venue was that big. And we got some clarification on our new member, Bob, for Bomb New Chow. So welcome aboard. You have impeccable taste, and welcome aboard here. Luke, what you got for your Fab 4 pick?
My Fab 4 pick is, the biggest game of my weekend is actually this evening. I'm popping down. I coach high school soccer, and our JV boys have formed an indoor boarded tournament team. I'm going to pop down there and surprise them. They're going to kick a ball around for 55 minutes and just to get out and show some of the younger guys, some of the younger members of the squad some support and some love.
Box office stuff.
But yeah, exactly. USL Championship final. I'm stoked about this one. Offense versus defense. East versus West. It's a real clash of styles. It's Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Tulsa. I don't have a horse in this race directly, although Rob and I we share an acquaintance on the roster at Tulsa. It's a very, very significant game in terms of it being everything that you want. These guys have worked hard all year, and there is an intense clash of styles. Both of these clubs deserve to be in this final. It's offense versus defense for me. Pittsburgh have one postseason goal, but they're on a 512-minute shutout streak, Rob. Whereas on the other hand, FC Tulsa are regarded as like a fairly free-scoring club, a fairly free-scoring team this year. So it's even if you're just watching soccer for the sake of it, you don't have a horse in this race. I allow myself. It's gonna be a good game. Gonna enjoy this one.
Yeah, a lot of ties here between the Ultras and some of friends of the show and folks we know from Oakland County FC. I've been looking forward to talking about this game just to give Tulsa Mario shout out, long time supporter,
Yes.
finally being rewarded with some excellent results and some big memories. I think I'll remember that picture he posted from the Western Conference Final after they defeated MK Ultra, Ron Patel's New Mexico United. He was on the field, rolling around in the confetti, holding the trophy. And that's a memory to last a couple lifetimes. So shout out there. And then I'm curious, Mario, what's your thought of Alex DeLue? He is a former Oakland County FC guy and looked like he played a significant role, over 30 appearances there. And then, that matchup. Free scoring team against the team that gives up no goals. And, kudos to Pittsburgh. That was quite a moment they had in the semifinals last weekend. Another team hasn't had a great deal of success. This is the farthest they've been. They're not exactly a new team. And, good to see a team like that. And in a bigger city, too, that can galvanize, the soccer spirit there. Apparently, that was like one of the biggest crowds that they had ever had at that game. So big things happening for Pittsburgh at Tulsa on Saturday. All right, Jenny, she's still laid up, but she's on the job producing for us, and she's coming in with the third pick of the Fab Four.
It is, in fact, the disembodied voice of producer Jenny Hoynatsky here. I also want to comment that FC Tulsa that game is kicking off in Tulsa at 11 a.m. local time, so it's an early one. Make sure Tulsa Mario and his brethren have the Bloody Marys ready to flow early on before that match.
And shout out to Soccer Zombie, who's traveling there again from the St. Louis area all the way out to Tulsa for the second weekend in a row. Another ultra.
Impressive. I am going to go with the other championship game, or as my children would call it, a trophy game, and go to the NWSL, the Washington Spirit against Gotham FC. This is an intriguing matchup for a number of reasons. For one, Washington Spirit looking for redemption after losing to Orlando in last year's championship final. And also Gotham looking to kind of, what I would say, steal their second championship in 3 years. They kind of unexpectedly made a run to the final 2 years ago, and they beat OL Reign, now Seattle Reign, in the championship 2 years ago, in which Megan Rapinoe tore her Achilles in her final game, less than 20 minutes into the game. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, even though Trinity Rodman does have some injury history. And I'm really looking forward to this one. Will Gotham continue their kind of defensive run through this NWSL playoffs, where they've won a couple of games on penalties and late winners in extra time? Or will Washington Spirit get redemption after last season? Should be a fun one, 8 o'clock Saturday on CBS National TV.
Yeah, it's interesting that Trinity Rodman story comes just days before this game happens. I'm sure probably no coincidence. Like I said, with the agent quote in the story, and then the timing of it all seems very, very much negotiation. Big bag negotiation tactics there from the Rodman camp.
Hey, is she going to start? Is Trinity going to start?
That's a good question. That's a good question. We don't know. Yeah,
she's just coming back from injury, and she just got a few minutes from what I recall. But definitely some intrigue there, and there's definitely plenty of controversy swirling around, as is in the chat. Pittsburgh coach Bob Lidley on admin leave. We don't have any leads on what the transgressions there that led to him being put on the shelf. And Philadelphia Union having their own situation of controversy there as well. So all sorts of things swirling in the mix. So it is the fourth pick. It is the member pick. Let's see what we got here in the chat. Mike, our Philly fan, his pick is Union versus NYCFC need to overcome our annual controversy. Yeah, it is pretty wild how that comes. And again, I'm curious timing that story comes out, as the playoffs get back underway. Chris Riverhounds is the usual underdog with the scandal. And then what else do we got here as far as games? That's the same game as well, the Union and the Pigeons. And then we have another shout for the USL Championship final, Villa at Leeds. All very good stuff. Not too many games, but lots of big games on the docket this weekend. So thank you for chipping in there, everybody. They're your weekend's Fab Four right there for you. And our guest is waiting in the wings. So be like our brand new member, Mr. Bob. You can join in. A couple bucks a month gets you all sorts of perks, including priority comments on screen during live videos, bonus content, early content access, and access to the Morning Kickaround Discord server, which is a fun and really informative, even at times, a community of soccer folks. So shout out to all the existing longtime MK Ultras and our brand new one as well. All right, we're going to come back with our guest, Simon Evans. We're going to dig into the new arrangements for the Apple TV deal and maybe touch a little bit more on the MLS calendar switch. Hot topic up next here on Morning Kickaround. So big news came out of Major League Soccer last weekend with the calendar change and big changes to the television deal. So to kind of dig into the business side of these big announcements, we've got Simon Evans returning to the show. Thank you for joining us once again, Simon Evans from the soccer business. Welcome aboard, sir.
Good to see you, Robert. Hi, Luke.
Hello, boss. How are you?
Good, thanks.
All right. So it was kind of lost in the mix because everyone got caught up with the MLS calendar change. But on the same day, it was kind of a news dump. Apple TV deal, paywall's gone. The deal is shortened. Can you break us down what actually was changed? And then we'll get to kind of what does that signal?
Yeah, so I mean, the change fundamentally is the MLS Season Pass, the subscription product that was available through Apple TV, no longer is going to exist. That's gone. So basically, if you subscribe to Apple TV, you get everything that's on Apple TV, and that includes everything from MLS. So it's a much better deal for the consumer. I don't think there's anything doubt about that. We could discuss, what it means for MLS as a business, but for the consumer, instead of paying $12.99 a month for MLS, you're now paying $12.99 for MLS, for Formula One, for all the comedy shows, for the movies, for everything else is on Apple TV. And it's an even better deal, to be honest, at the risk of sounding like a sales executive for Apple and MLS. It's an even better deal when you look at the bundle they announced recently with Peacock. So for an extra $2 for $14.99, you get everything that's on Apple TV, including your MLS and your F1, plus everything that's on Peacock, or pretty much everything that's on Peacock. So you would get Premier League and MLS from a soccer perspective, and USL Super League, where you might see Trinity Rodman play. Who knows?
Yeah. So, what's your believability rating before we go further? What's your believability rating on the Rodman to Super League?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, I remember years ago when the attempt to recreate the NASL happened as a split off from the USL. And I remember talking to one of the executives who was involved in that, who said, we're going to have no salary cap, so we can take on MLS. We can offer Landon Donovan as much as we want to offer him. Like, there's no rule stopping us. And I was like, okay, let's see you do that then. And of course, it never happened, and it was always in theory. Well, this is an early sign, perhaps. I mean, it's interesting. It's the DC team, which has been reported to have made this bid, who are owned by DC United, right? So
I know they share facilities. I'm not sure about the ownership group, but in the articles that I've read, they did talk about crossover as far as facility sharing.
Right. Okay. I need to check on that, but it's an interesting one. I'd be surprised. I'd be really surprised if she was to leave NWSL for the Super League. I'd be much less surprised if she ended up going to Europe.
Yeah, it seems almost like a counter. Yeah, it seems just like a third party to maybe sweeten the deal here domestically. But back to the Apple TV deal. So you're saying that for the consumer, this might be a better deal, more for less?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. For the consumer, it is. Now, you still have to sign up to an Apple platform, just as if you want to watch Champions League or Serie A, you've got to sign up to Paramount Plus. If you want to watch the Premier League, you've got to sign up to Peacock. They've now put themselves in a normal subscription streaming position, right? That's all it is. It's no more and no less than that. They're in a normal position. It wasn't a very normal position to be on a platform where you were paying just for that league's content, and nothing else.
Simon, two questions from my end, if I may. Number one, in your opinion, are there any metrics by which we can judge the Apple TV deal on that paint it in a positive way, that don't point it to being the sort of abject, miserable failure that the soccer industry in the States kind of has it pegged out at? Are there anything? Is there anything that this thing did that went well? Question number two, real quick, is this weekend, will you be watching MLS on Apple TV, or will you be watching the next episode of Pluribus on Apple TV?
I'll be watching MLS on Apple TV, definitely. And I'll be trying to watch USL on Paramount or ESPN as well. I can't wait. Is it which the final is? I don't know.
Mate,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to go back to the question about the metrics, it's a really difficult area, right? Because Apple, they are notoriously secretive about all data connected with all their products and services. So it's very hard to get any information out of them, which I think was a bit of a frustration to MLS at times, because the way that leagues work is that, and you'll see this, Robert, I'm sure you get the same emails that I do, that the broadcasters will let you know when they've had a great weekend. Yeah. And record breaker. There's always a new record that they've calculated it in a certain way. It's the most people to have watched on a Sunday afternoon before 3 p.m. in autumn with no, there's whatever category they put it at, they can do that, and the PR companies will push that out. And this last week or so, we've just been fed the NWSL's record ratings across various platforms and so on, which I'm sure is true. But the fact that PR companies do that, MLS wasn't able to do that because Apple wasn't giving them the numbers, or if it was sharing the numbers, it was on a basis that this is not public information. So very difficult. At the All-Star game in Austin, Don Garber did a press conference and gave us some numbers which indicated, and again, the calculation of those viewers is different from how Nielsen does it and how we're used to seeing those numbers from TV. But the number they gave was like 1.8 million people over a weekend. So you've got 17 games. You break that down. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean, 1 million were watching Inter Miami play in a game and maybe 20,000 were watching another game? We don't get any of that information. I think the fact that Apple is doing this deal at this stage where they are saying, okay, we'll step back from that subscription money, that separate subscription money. We're going to put you up there with F1 and with our other prime properties as an attraction to bring people in to buy our Apple TV product, suggests to me that it wasn't quite as bad as people were making out, right? Because if it was an absolute disaster, why don't Apple just walk away from it? I'm sure they could find a way, whether they have to pay penalties for cutting it short early. Now, the deal has been cut short a bit. And basically, MLS will be able to go to market in 27, 28, around that period, looking for a possible another partner if they wanted to move on from Apple. So there has been a reduction in that commitment from Apple in that sense. But I think we're kind of reading the vibes on it, where I think it's not been as bad as some of the critics have made out and not been as good as they'd hoped.
Yeah, that's often where the truth is somewhere in between the hyperbole, right? But it can't be. I wonder if, I guess the question is this just a reshaping of a business model because it was an experimental business model? Or does this mean that, like, hey, we're going to try to get out of this as quick as we can? And they negotiated between MLS and Apple. They negotiated like, all right, we'll just, cut it short and rearrange it.
Well, they're cutting it short, but they're not cutting it short now or next season. You know, there's a few years left to run on it, and if they really wanted out of it, they could have cut it shorter. I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure Apple has the power in negotiations to end this thing whenever they wanted to, pretty much, yeah, with some compensation paid or whatever. So I think I think when I saw the news that Formula One had signed a deal with Apple and that there wasn't going to be a Formula One season pass, that it was just going to be available, I was like, how does this possibly work next season? That Apple can turn around and go, we want an extra $12.99 for MLS, but you can have Formula One for free. It seemed, this is, from that point of view, it was no surprise to me that this happened. And the MLS, I've got to give them a bit of credit here, because when I saw it, I thought there's always a catch with these things. There's always something that's like not good for the consumer, right? And the fact that MLS Season Pass was included with your season ticket as an MLS fan effectively made it a free gift to every season ticket holder in America, as well as all the bonuses they did with T-Mobile and all the rest of it. But the fans of the team, you bought your season ticket for your MLS club last season, and you got access to all the games, home games in your stadium, plus every other game in MLS on TV, right? Nice deal. And I thought, well, if they're getting rid of the season ticket, the season pass, they're probably getting rid of that offer as well. But they haven't. They're offering MLS season ticket holders free Apple TV. So,
Remarkable. And that's where the optics come from. The optics come from, well, we're going to put this beautiful, wonderful, amazing sport that we're trying to push the agenda of in this country behind this big fat paywall. Oh, wait, 6 months later, Simon, I ended up having 3 T-Mobile season passes, MLS season pass last year. I got one free as a season ticket holder of the Columbus Crew. I got 4. Oh my God. 2 as T-Mobile customers. My wife and I, we share a line, we share an account, so we had 2 season passes that way. And then there was somewhere else as well that were like that just gave me a season pass. So the optics of that, Simon. One day we're trying to put this valuable IP behind the paywall, and then a few weeks later we're just sort of dishing out season passes like candy. The optics are, this was a gross miscalculation by either Apple or MLS or both up front, and they had to pivot and about face quite quickly.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the amount of people, anecdotally, I mean, that's pretty extreme having 4 of them, I have to say, Luke. But a good friend of mine who likes different sports and likes soccer, but isn't, and he's an older guy and he's not particularly into MLS. And he said to me, is it possible to watch these messy games? Like, where can I watch them? I'm like, Apple TV. He's like, I'm not getting another subscription. I said, you've probably got a subscription somewhere. Went into his T-Mobile app, and I was like, there you go. You've got 12 months free. Oh, nice one. I wonder how many thousands of people across America had free access to this and didn't know about it, or that the Sunday night games have been free on various platforms as well. You didn't need to have season pass. I think if you were on Comcast or DirecTV, you got the Sunday night game free as well. So it's been a weird mix of like very generous offers, but people not always knowing about them either. And so this impression was left that it was like this very expensive product, even though it seemed to be free for half the country.
That's a good point. And it's interesting how you framed it also that Formula One is now in the Apple TV world. And do you think that Major League Soccer being packaged next to F1 will further elevate it? Or do you think that, people just scan through it?
I think it's more a case of it allows Apple to build out a sports offering, yeah? So if you go to all the different rival streamers that Apple have, they all have a sports offering now as part of their package, yeah? So, HBO is not famous for sports, but if you sign up to HBO Max now, you get US national team games, you get various other sports products. Peacock is obviously full of it. The Disney deals are packaged together with ESPN and everything. So everybody's got some sports, and Apple, that was missing for them, really. And just having a separate product for MLS, that was, 2 years ago, that was all they had for sport. That was literally all they had. Now they've got a little bit of Major League Baseball. They've got Formula One. They've got MLS. Wouldn't surprise me if they had a couple more things. So Just to respond to that comment that's on screen there, people need to sit down and specifically navigate with the intent to watch MLS. That's true for everything these days, though. I mean, it really is. Talk to NBA fans or NFL fans, especially NBA fans. It's like, you have to go online and Google to find out who's showing the game. It's not the days when we just switched on ESPN and we knew the sport was going to be there. Have long since gone.
Okay, Boomer.
No, but
you are absolutely 1,000%. You are 1,000% correct. It is an intricate process that takes 30 to 60 seconds sometimes of looking, searching, pushing the flipping thing on the clicker to try to get the product that I'm looking for. And it's getting worse, not better. It's so convoluted.
I mean, I just looked this morning at the new TV deals in Europe for the Champions League, and the Champions League package for the UK is going to be, and the UEFA package, I should say, Champions League, Europa League, Conference League. It's on 4 different platforms. I mean, I can talk, and you go to these conferences like I do, and you listen to people in that space talk about strategies and so on. And it's like diversification of platforms, different revenue streams, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but are you not totally like running rings around your fans here? Because they're paying for 4 different packages. They're having to do that little bit of work, as you say, to find out where the game is. But above all, they're having to pay for the packages. I mean, do you really want to have Paramount Plus and Amazon Prime and Sky Sports and the BBC in the UK to watch European football? I mean, it's I think the whole industry, and this has been missing from the debate about MLS, Robert, I think, is that it's got to be seen in the context of an industry that is going all over the place on TV rights. I mean, imagine if that Champions League deal had been offered for American consumers for MLS. Hey, you can watch some MLS games on Amazon Prime, some on this, some on that. You need 4 different subscriptions. People would go crazy about it. But that's what's happening, and it's starting to happen. With American sports, it's already happened, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. The regional networks where you could watch any of the local pro teams, like those have gone away and come back, and they're on apps and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people here locally where I am, Michigan, don't follow the Pistons or the Red Wings half as much as they used to, because it's not like you said, it's not like pick up the remote and just pop it on. So yeah, you have to, there's a different layers. You have to be very intent. You have to have a lot of intent to find those out. You have to.
Yeah. So the commenter was correct there, that you do need to have that intent to go out there and look for it. But that's just modern sports viewerdom now. That's what we have to do for everything.
Yeah, and Andy,
Robert, if I may, I think Simon and I can probably put a lid on this entire topic together in unison, using our respective husky British voices, by quite simply saying, "Game's gone."
Yeah, I guess we could fall into cliche if we wanted to, but Simon, really appreciate you popping on and kind of working on this topic. Trying to see, it's hard. It's kind of a difficult topic because the mystery of the data, and it's a new business model. It's hard to know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but you have at least spelled out that it seems, at least on the surface, that it's the consumer, the viewer, the fan is getting more.
Massive! I mean, you look at that bundle with Peacock together for $14.99. What you're getting across a range of sports, and if you added onto that a subscription for one of the biggies like ESPN or some other structure, you're probably 70% of the way to getting all the sport that you might want. Which is, I think, the end goal for most consumers now, is how do I package together all these different services in an affordable way, in a way that I can bear to pay, that gives me the most amount of sport that you can get for your money. And I think this helps people to do that, and as part of that picture. But the whole situation is a mess. And added into it, Apple don't really care about making money so much in the short term. They're playing a different game. They want people in their ecosystem. They want people, buying into the whole Apple services across a range, and they'll package it together with all the other services. So you're judging it on a different criteria of what is success for Apple than what is success for Fox Sports on TV.
Yeah, similar vibes as Amazon, would you say, Simon? In that sense of we don't really care what the content is, as long as it's content, and we just want to try to get people into the Amazon sphere.
It keeps them, yeah. It keeps them there, yeah. I mean, I think Amazon's slightly different in that most of us already have it because we don't want to pay the postage on all the deliveries from Amazon. So that's the way. I think most of us have it for that reason, and the video's like a bonus that comes along with it. But certainly, yeah, it helps you. Sticky content, as they say, keeps you hanging around and stuck in their system. So complicated environment, but I think next season it's going to be interesting to see whether they start hitting us with some bigger numbers. Merritt Paulson from Portland Timbers was saying he expects the audience to double. So it'll be interesting to see whether Merritt Paulson comes back to us all halfway through next season and says, "Hey, we doubled the audience." We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Like this and the calendar change, until it's real, we won't really know if these things are going to turn out to be positives or negatives. But Simon, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing this with us and kind of breaking it down. So tell the audience where they can find your work and what your latest pieces are.
It's on soccerbusiness.com. There's a podcast there. There's a newsletter there, which will be out this afternoon, which last week we broke down a lot of the stuff on Apple. But every Friday afternoon, I send out a digest of all the soccer business news. And it's not just MLS, it's USL, NWSL. We go really down into the WPSL Pro and everything. Who's been appointed, who's doing what deals, what's going on, expansion clubs in USL, which small town community in America has just reached agreement for exploring the possibility of a multi-use retail and stadium facility this week. You know, it's all there.
You're also dotting the map just like us here on Morning Kickaround. Simon Evans from Soccer Business, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. And if you'd like more of this sort of content, become a subscriber. We're well past the 5,000 subscriber mark. Hit that button, help us continue to grow. And shout out to our new member, Mr. Bob. Be like Bob and become an MK Ultra. Get priority commenting on live streams, bonus content, and access to the Morning Kickaround Discord server. All right, we got at least one more segment to go here today. Our friend Brooks Lambier is here to talk some College Cup here. So we are going to dig into the big question about the College Cup here on Morning Kickaround. Welcome on in. Big question here on Morning Kicker. I'm Robert Kerr. On the far side is Luke Zagorski sitting in for Jason Davis. And in the middle are our college soccer expert, Brooks Lambier from We Are Soccer and scout for the Soccer Syndicate. Welcome aboard, sir.
What's going on? I enjoyed the last segment. Simon Evans, I read his stuff all the time. So it's keep myself informed about what's going on. And somehow that's how I figure out how decisions are made, you know, in the inner circle here of, you know, the stuff I'm in. So that was a good segment last we had. So,
yeah, great guest is Simon. And I want to talk about the college NCAA tournament kicked off last night. Yep. I want to ask you a few things about that. But the big question will be eventually, I want to work to, will this be the last College Cup tournament in its current state? But we'll talk about the 2025 edition to start off.
Yep.
I want to ask, what were some of the highlights of day one? Before we get into the field at large, what were some of the notables from the first day?
Yeah, I think, you know, we can start here in Michigan with Western Michigan upsetting Clemson. Robert's alma mater there. And but yeah, it was a good win. I mean, Western Michigan did not start the season off very well. It was a struggle.
Worst season in a while.
Yeah, it's when you go into the transfer portal, you have to hit on guys a lot, you know, and listen, UCLA kind of went through this a little bit in the season too, is they were trying to figure out what, you know, right cocktail mix of players was going to be the one that was going to win you games. And Western Michigan was the same way. And they finally kind of figured it out. You know, right goalkeeper messed around with the back line a bit, changing guys up, moving guys from the midfield to the outside back positions. But they figured it out, and that's how they go on this run. They go on a run in the MVC Missouri Valley Conference tournament. They win it, and they upset Clemson away. And I just actually received a text from Chad Wiseman this morning. I said congratulations, and he's like, it's always good to beat an ACC team. It's another one he knocks off the book. Says he's beaten Duke in the prior ACC or prior NCAA tournament, and there were one other team I forgot he beat in the ACC and the NCAA tournament as well. So that one to note. UNC had quite a struggle a little bit. They came out and they won in PKs against North Florida, but North Florida put up a good fight. The similar, easy one, Marshall, 1-0 win over Cleveland State. We'll see how deep Marshall can make a run this year. They weren't as maybe strong in the regular season or as big of noise in the regular season, but, they'll be interesting. West Virginia and St. John's, 7 goals in that one. West Virginia had to win in overtime 4-3. So, that was, St. John's representing the Big East. Yeah.
Can we please implore our viewing audience together, Brooks, to go out and take a look at the West Virginia winner from young Mr. Caldera? It was a what's a beautiful goal. If you haven't checked it out yet, guys, go to YouTube, go to your television, go to your toaster if you need to. Go and find this goal. It's beautiful. 4-3 golden goal, walk off.
It was a good one. West Virginia and Marshall have been putting up, we've talked about before, Robert, on the show. It's not a soccer state, West Virginia, but those two colleges are the pro teams in that state, and they are making a statement of why shouldn't the state of West Virginia have a USL club or a championship club, or I remember talking to some Marshall fans, and I know they want. I was asked, hey, what would be the best place for a pro team? Charleston, West Virginia, they said would be best for a pro team. It's the biggest city, and maybe USL will get there one day. But, those two coaches, Chris Grassi and Dan Stratton, are doing a wonderful job. And they always make runs in the tournament every year, to the College Cup, to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8. Marshall having won a national championship in 2020 and knocking out some big powerhouses like beating Indiana in 2020. So, it was a good, solid win. Oregon State and Washington last night. That's another one I'll note is that, Washington, both teams, former Pac-12 opponents, and they took them down to the wire. Washington, Richie Amon with a great goal as well. If you want to look at that one, taking on a defender and beating them, getting down the line and scoring from a very difficult angle. Richie Amon did to give Washington 3-2 win. So credit to Jamie Clark. I remember talking to Jamie Clark last year when he came on the trip to Michigan and Michigan State, and they had felt they were a young team that back then. They were a few pieces away from making a difference, and they had a great year in the Big Ten this year. If they had beaten Maryland at Maryland in the regular season, they probably would have hosted the Big Ten tournament. Unfortunately, they didn't. But credit to Jamie Clark in Washington. They're a fun group to watch. Harrison Burtos is an excellent left center back. Richie Amon's a great player. Zach Ramsey in the midfield is a great player for them as well. So is Charlie Kosakoff as a center forward. Only 5'11", but boy, does that guy battle, and he just works his butt off, up top and pressing and the defensive work rate he has. So some games to note, at least from the first night. But some upsets, and that's what you get in College Cup this time. People think you're only in the Missouri Valley Conference, you're in the Sun Belt, you're in the Horizon, you can't beat these teams. And this is what happens in tournament time in November and December is there are upsets that happen. And, for as strong as the ACC is, I don't mind when a small conference team beats an ACC opponent like Western Michigan does. Syracuse, Hofstra beat Syracuse last night, so Hofstra's going to play the top seed Vermont in the next round. Obviously, Western Michigan moves on to play the 16 seed Furman in the next round, so they won't have to travel too far. I'm curious if they'll just stay out there since it's in South Carolina anyways. But it's a fun time in November for college soccer, for the men and women too.
So with those playing games going down on last night, on Thursday night, the bulk of the tournament really gets going on Sunday with a multitude of games. But I did want to ask you the big question, is this the last year where it'll be like this? We're getting into late November, the final is typically in early December. and it's all a bit of a big hurry. And so I haven't actually gotten to discuss this with you yet.
Mhm.
Are you looking forward to the possibility of doing this tournament in the springtime if the white paper's recommendations for a 2-semester system comes to pass?
Yeah, so I don't think you'll hear anything about. I mean, I know they want to start this as soon as they can, but the thing is, you need buy-in from presidents, conferences. Like, there's more to this than U.S. Soccer wants a lot of control of this, and they don't really. I don't think they really want the NCAA involved anymore. I just think there's just U.S. Soccer sees college soccer. We're trying to figure out a way for college soccer to stay relevant because it has a lot of relevancy. It's most of the facilities probably at the majority of the colleges are better than probably most lower division club facilities. If you really think about it, I mean, Ohio State, Michigan, Maryland, Michigan State, Western Michigan, have a lot of great facilities. I mean, here locally at Oakland University, I mean, they've hosted a FIFA Club World Cup, squad that played this past summer. And I think they may get a bid for a World Cup squad to go train there. Not saying they have facilities just like Michigan and Michigan State, but when you just look at it, the funding's there and everything's set. Why not try to figure ways to incorporate college soccer into the development pyramid more? And, it's a very competitive atmosphere in college soccer. MLS Next Pro for me, it's no better than, some USL 2 sides, to be honest with you. It's a bunch of young kids and academy kids, depending on how you build your squad. Even some of the independent ones that try to build their squad, aren't super competitive, I feel like, because now everyone's itching to go play at an independent side where you're playing against kids. Some college kids that get to these second teams, end up being babysitters, or they sit behind guys because, listen, the 17 and 16-year-old are going to take president over, the guy that's 23, 22. So it's interesting to see how things will shape up with these white papers. Am I looking forward to a May or June? Yes, because I think it'll make the competition better overall. You're not going to play, even though North Carolina is not the worst in December, there've been some where they've been played in Philly, Columbus, where it's bitter cold, it affects the game, or it just doesn't showcase how good college soccer and the crowds they can draw. I mean, I was talking, I'll give you, even for these conference tournaments as well, to play them in the spring would be much better because they want viewership. Talking to a few college coaches just as they were in between the conference tournament and, knowing that they would, get into the NCAA tournament, some were upset with how conference tournaments were changed a little bit. I'll give you good examples. The Big Ten, they were like 7 or 8 teams last year, and then they move it to 4. And this was voted on by, I know, and from my understanding, by the administration. The coaches didn't have a whole lot of say in it. And they kind of took bits and pieces of what they liked from all the scenarios, and they kind of made it into what they wanted. I believe it's going to change next year. It's not going to go 4. It'll be expanded to 7 or 8 again. But, it's a little upsetting that, you think Maryland would advance to the final. They didn't. And you have, two good teams in UCLA and Michigan playing, but you don't draw a good crowd and everyone thinks it's on TV and no one watches Big Ten soccer. And, so, that plays a little bit into it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so am I looking forward to this 2-semester? Yes. If it does happen and it's passed, I know the smaller schools from people I talk to are very happy about it. They like that they're being included, unlike the last kind of proposal that was put forth, where it was like the Super League, where we're going to take 60 teams in this pilot program, and but they were going to eventually, the small schools would be included. It just wouldn't be right away. But everyone kind of trying to go right away in this new one in the white papers is everyone. I think the small schools like. It's just convincing the presidents why this is a good thing. And obviously schools have to change a little bit because recruiting. I mean, that's the big thing is, when do I go recruit? Because recruiting time is in the spring, so it's going to be tough to handle. But I think things will work out. Obviously, MLS Next and ECNL will switch their showcases to align with everything because, listen, those places won't make money unless they have college coaches go recruiting at those showcases, because that's why all these people pay all this money to go to all these showcases around the country, whether ECNL hosts them or it's a neutral one or it's an MLS Next one, so it'll all work itself out. But I'm curious to see how it progresses with everything,
So we got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, real quick, Brooks. We've got Mr. College Soccer himself gracing us with his presence. So real quick, I love how more important college soccer is becoming to not just the soccer landscape in this country, but the sports landscape in general. My favorite thing about college soccer at this point is that you look at college football, you look at college basketball, even college baseball to a slightly lesser degree. You've got your legacy programs, you've got your blue chip programs.
Yep.
Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama. They're all, within football, certainly they're always going to be there. We don't really have this, with a couple of exceptions, we don't really have this whole legacy culture at college soccer level quite yet. There are a few teams that they're probably going to be just fine. So my question to you is, I really enjoyed, I won't bore the world with it, but there's certain things I really enjoyed about the season last year. What are the chances of, it's a different conversation for both outfits, but what are the chances of a Marshall and Vermont repeat this year again?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think anything can happen. Like I said, in this NCAA tournament, I mean, I think Vermont has as much of a chance as, any ACC program in Akron and Indiana. We saw Denver in there last year in College Cup. Ohio State was there, Marshall and Vermont. I mean, really only one powerhouse team from a conference was Ohio State. I mean, now Denver's switching leagues next year. They're going to switch leagues into the WCC, so they won't be a part of the Summit League, but the WCC is a very good league on the West Coast. I think it's very possible. I mean, you've had some interesting teams that have made a run this year. Bryant's been in the top 25 a lot of the season, even in the top 10 a lot of the season. Do they have enough? I'm not sure to win College Cup, but they have enough to upset. They play Seton Hall this next round. IU had a little bit of a bummer run at the end of the season, but they had a very good start to the season. Can IU win as a powerhouse program? Yes. But yes, so Vermont and Marshall, you could see a West Virginia win. I can see, there's a few different, ones, but, mostly I probably predict that a lot of powerhouse programs will get into there or be contenders for it. But yes, there are some smaller programs. And again, this is luck and chance. Some of it, when you catch fire, how it is, even with March Madness and basketball, but we are seeing a shift. I will say, we've talked about the international and domestic debate on here before, Robert, about international kids coming into the game and playing versus domestics. And there's more. The international players give a lot of these small schools a chance. It's a different way of recruiting. People can be upset about it or they can't, but they can or they can't. But I want everyone to be competitive. I don't want big boys to always win the national championship. I want them to earn it, And in an era of NIL with college football, basketball and some other sports, and there are some schools in soccer that can spend a little bit, but in an era of NIL, it's nice to see that there's a lot of parity, especially in college soccer, that it's not just the big boys always. It's not predictable. That's what's great about college soccer all across the board with the men and women. It's not predictable. So
we're going to dip into some questions from MK Ultras, the channel members here. Chris asks, when will college soccer really actually start marketing to fans?
Yeah.
That could be a rhetorical question if there's no answer.
No, it's interesting because I think what a lot of the programs do, obviously locally is where you're going to get a lot of your fans, right? Obviously it starts with the camps they run in the summertime and the showcases they do, like every program I think always has like some type of campers day where like if you attended a camp, you wear the shirt or whatever, or you're given a ticket to the game or whatever to fill up the stadium. A lot of college programs do that. Obviously the alumni come back for alumni day and they do all the basic stuff. Some have gotten pretty creative with their marketing stuff. They have theme marketing nights for some stuff that some college programs do. so it's changed up a bit. But the big thing is you're still competing on TV on the, it's rough. Like on the Big Ten network, you're competing with all the other sports. And, listen, there's sometimes I want to watch Michigan State hockey on the Big Ten because I think it's a good rivalry. But like the last segment, I got to go on to Peacock sometimes to watch Michigan State, or I got to pay the extra money to watch on BTN Plus when I think it's a nice matchup that's not on BTN. So, you're competing a lot with other sports when you're coming to the big conferences. ESPN Plus is great for everyone that doesn't know. Like, if you have the ESPN Plus subscription, you can pretty much watch almost every conference on ESPN Plus. The Big East this past year has moved from Fox to ESPN Plus. The only ones that are behind the paywall really are Big Ten and ACC are probably the only two that are really behind paywalls. I know some schools do their own stuff, like Western Michigan's done their own broadcast stuff before when they have a link. But everything now on the NCAA tournament, men and women, is all on ESPN Plus and it'll be on the ESPN networks. So, but in terms of marketing, I think they would like extra money to market their sport, but unfortunately all of that goes to the bigger sports. And it's kind of sad really, because I don't think some of these ADs understand how big soccer could be and what it can do for their program if they do it the right way. And that's at every school, not just big schools. That's at every school. So
changes are coming, Brooks. Changes are coming. In the meantime, let's go Broncos. Curious, how do you rate Michigan Wolverines' chances on Sunday?
Oh, so Michigan actually got bounced by Notre Dame. So they played in the first round. So
I know
you did. I know. You Buckeye fan. I know.
That's some dirty pool there from our guest co-host there. But we're going long here. I got one more question from our channel members, and it illustrates one of the things I love about a section of our channel members is their keen interest in USL 2. Jeff asks, the college change would kill USL 2. I have my own thoughts on it. Curious of yours.
Yes, it would. It would. He's right. It would. And that's what I've talked about with a lot of people that are involved in USL 2 teams locally and across the country. It would. I mean, you wouldn't get the top players. I mean, I don't believe NCAA 2 and 3 would move to this because I don't think they could, but it would. Like, it's kind of essentially it's like, some USL teams, I think that's why with this pro rel and everything that's being involved, like there are teams that we want to go pro now because we see that it's not going to be the best, amateur league for all amateur players. And I think in USL 2 circumstances, what I've noticed a lot, and I'm interested to see if it continues, a lot of youth clubs that are big youth clubs. So I'll give you two: Bethesda in Maryland and PA Classics in Pennsylvania now have U23 teams for USL 2. So I'm curious to see, and they both play MLS Next, which is interesting as well. So are they going to target bigger youth clubs? And there are some actual youth clubs in this area in Michigan, whether they have a men's or just a women's team. They use it as much like they promote it inside their club to come watch the game. And this is where your kid can end up if they go to college, or if you're 16, 17, you need a summer team to play with. I mean, I'm curious if USL Super Y kind of, goes down a little bit eventually because maybe people are getting a little tired of certain things. You could see some interesting changes as everything evolves between college and what USL 2 wants to do and this pro rel stuff. I'm curious to see how things kind of rotate in this country for soccer. But to answer the comment, yes, like this will change. I don't think the top college guys are going to play USL 2, especially coming off after you played the national championship in May or June. And if you're going to play all year round, even though you have a break in the middle of the year, I mean, if I was a college coach, I think I'd say, I want you to rest and I want you to be prepared for when you come back at the end of July. You can't, it's already a lot anyways for me right now when a kid plays essentially a very shortened college season in the summertime. And then some are called back after, 4th of July, because that's some of the cutoff times that coaches have. I mean, it's already difficult now. It's going to be even more difficult if the white papers go through and everything's changed.
Russ,
So
it happens now. It happens now on
Yeah.
the recruitment trail for USL2 clubs. We get guys who we talk to, well, not we, but people that we both know.
Yeah.
There are conversations that I had. It's like, I see the value in me coming to USL2 and spending my summer working with your program. But Coach Billy says that I have to rest this summer and I can't play for you.
Yep.
We lose talent like that, and this move is gonna. We can talk about this. It's a whole segment of content right here, but just
Yeah.
I love USL2 football. I really do. In a partisan and non-partisan way. It's going to destroy it. It's going to make it meaningless. It's going to render it useless in its current form. And I hope that USL2 can adapt to being something else so that it just becomes completely irrelevant and disappears.
I don't agree with that. It's like a total killer. I do agree, obviously. I mean, they made an allowance. They even referenced the summer league season in the white papers, and they left that window there. But I do agree that the top players, if they've had a deep run and all that stuff, they'll probably forego it. It won't probably be as necessary. But you had another point.
The one point I'll say is, like, I think it's still important for USL2 to be around for the kids that play NAI, D2, and D3.
Or not getting playing time, right?
Exactly. Well, not playing time, but just like USL2 is great for other exposure. So like when I do my scouting stuff, and obviously, Robert, you work for OCFC, that's the closest team to me. It's important. You get, top NAI colleges like Lindsey Wilson and Rio Grande and UNOH send their guys, to bigger programs to get identified. And sometimes that's how they move up to higher colleges. Someone gets coached, and that's how they enter the portal and move up. And you still need that exposure for the guys that play D2, D3, and NAIA. I mean, kids end up in different situations for many different reasons, whether it's academic or they're not identified early on and they get missed. There's a lot of kids in USL, pro, League One and Championship that played at good D2 programs like Young Harris and there's some Lindsey Wilson guys that graduated that played in the professional game that are good players. It's just, either you're international and you can't, it's too much money to go to a bigger school and you couldn't get it, or there's always a reason. But I mean, for the importance of scouting and everything, leagues like MWPL, USL2, League for Clubs, you want to put that in there. Whatever amateur, summer program, it's good for kids to get extra games if needed. But yes, I think the top guys, if this goes 2 semesters, it's going to be a question for a lot of coaches. Do I want to send my guys? Do I just send my underclassmen? My guys that didn't play a lot, maybe I send my underclassmen. But, for me, it's always interesting to me, the push and the pull with it, because I think some guys need matches in the summertime with these amateur sides, but I think some guys need more training in regards to developing than necessarily playing in a team environment. So there's always different, reasons and whatnot. But so
fair enough.
Adapt or die, and I hope they find a way to adapt.
Yeah, no doubt. But I think we've reached the end of our time with you, Mr. Brooks. We've gone long and we've meandered a bit. Plenty to talk about in the college world. But the 2025 edition of the NCAA soccer tournament for the men's preliminary round was last night on Thursday, and the bulk of it is being played on Sunday. Brooks, thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Kick Around to kind of dip into the current events in the college soccer world. And you can catch Brooks on We Are Soccer, and he is also scouting for the Soccer Syndicate. Thank you so much, Brooks, and enjoy tournament season. I know you enjoy it.
Yeah, one thing, just if you're a fan of the women's game, turn on to the women's game. It's going on right now as well, ESPN Plus. Support the women's programs as well, because those coaches, like a Jeff Hosler at Michigan State, do a fantastic job. So support the women as well.
I bet Hosler's is he over the moon about the white paper thing? Because he was pushing for the 21st century model quite a bit, wasn't he?
I haven't talked to Jeff about it, but I think a lot of the women's coaches, it makes sense if the men go, the women need to follow. It just makes sense. But
all right.
So
thank you very much, Brooks. I appreciate the time. As always, you can catch him on the We Are Soccer YouTube channel. They go live on Sunday nights and post throughout the week as well. So that about does it for our show for now. But Luke Zagorski, our fill-in co-host, MK Ultra and super supporter, he started the show with a quiz question looking for your replies. If you were hypothetically opening a soccer-themed bar restaurant, you're making the menu, what would the flagship item be? And we've gotten a couple of replies in the chat at the beginning. I Play French Horn said PK potato skins, which is kind of funny. And then I'm not sure if this was Matt. He said flopjacks, and it would be based.
I love it.
Pancakes based around
just...
players who flop. And then I'm going to go over to the comment section on the community section on the YouTube channel. Ryan Schmelzer says, my restaurant would be called Nothing But Bangers. It would only serve in-house stuffed bangers, and the animal used in the bangers would have been fed grass clippings from a famous football pitch around the world. So that is
that's absurd. That's ridiculous and absurd, but it's also beautiful. And this man needs my money. This man needs the Fanatics gift card. I've heard all I need to hear. $50, fanatics.com.
Oh, right, Ryan Schmelzer, our guy in Fort Wayne.
Come on, man. You know, game recognizes game. Pay that man his money.
I'll just shout out the other replies. Even though we've got a winner, we've got Axel says basket of mac and cheese balls. And then we started off with the Mano de Dios, a 5 chicken finger plate with a side of cheating and a World Cup trophy shaped drink, which is pretty funny as well. Give you a couple more seconds. If anyone has a soccer themed menu item, get them in there real quick. But it seems like, as it stands, the winner, Ryan Schmelzer in Fort Wayne, Indiana, with Nothing But Bangers, serving stuffed bangers with clippings of grass. They're fed clippings of grass from famous football pitches around the world, which is a very specialty item. I mean, that's a niche thing there, and you have to put a lot of legwork into to get that all to happen. But thank you everyone for tuning in today. A great show as always. Thank you to our guests, Brooks Lambier and Simon Evans from Soccer Business. We had plenty to talk about, exciting stuff. Championship games tomorrow. I'm rooting for our friends really on both sides of the ball. We got a lot of connections to the Tulsa side, but it'll be very intriguing to see what Pittsburgh can manage. They don't score many goals. What will they be able to do in the final? We got the NCAA championship, Gotham and Washington. Got some heavy topics with World Cup planning and whatnot. And we might try to get a feature interview surrounding the Ernst Tanner. So stand by for that. And then thanks to you, Mr. Zagorski, for filling into the chair while Jason Davis continues to be away, but we'll be back next week. Thank you so much. And I wasn't being rude. I did notice you changed your shirt, but we were joined by a professional. So I moved on.
Esteemed company indeed. Perhaps next time I come on the show, you will allow me to accompany it with a feature. Are Township Rollers the biggest team in Burundi?
Oh,
Questions,
no way.
Comments. We'd love to have this debate. I'm sure every member of the MK Ultras has strong opinions on Township Rollers in Czech Notes, Burundi. But it's just a cool shirt. And one of the great things about collecting soccer jerseys is you get a chance to wear shirts from clubs that you've never heard of, from countries that you don't know anything about, the conversation starters in public, and it just opens up the game to you a little bit.
Yeah, the world is your oyster. Now that the World Cup has expanded, we're exploring all the different nations as well. And then we're going to end on one more note on or one more reply on the quiz question. Andy King says, just call the place, game's gone.
Game's gone. Game's gone. I don't know if that inspires neutrals to show up. They're going to think the place is already closed before they even get there. But I love the concept. Game's gone.
All right, good stuff, guys. Happy Friday, and we'll be back Monday. And until then, enjoy your soccer.